Hey, okay. So here is the plan going forward, and for this video, I have a lot piled up in the backlog. Movies I've watched, series I've watched, even some games that I played. Um, and I'm thinking, in order to go forward, just to clean this out, I'm gonna do one big video, the one you're watching now, where I'm just gonna talk about all of it loosely. I sorted into movies, and then games, and then we have animation. I have some books, some series, and then some animated series. And that's the order that I'm gonna go in. And then I'm thinking going forward, maybe I'll make a video once a week, every 2 weeks, where I just take the things that I watch, because it's pretty obvious that I'm not committed, can't commit, or like one video per thing that I watch. Um, that's just how it is now. So I'm thinking this is how it's gonna work. Hopefully I'll have put in timestamps in the video. I don't know how to do that. I'm not sure I know how to do that. But here we go. So let's get started with movies. In no particular order, the first movie is called Sisu. I think it was from Finland, or took place in Finland, leaned into Finnish history. It's about a miner. It's an old guy, but I think he works in a mine. Yeah, he has some gold. And then there's some Nazis that want his gold. And it was a good movie. I don't know if you can say enjoyed it. It's because it's very, very brutal. It's very hard. The guy has to go through some stuff, things happening. The Nazis are being very much themselves. But definitely recommend it for a rough, hard time, gritty action movie that I enjoyed. Then I watched Peter Pan and Wendy. Didn't enjoy that at all. It had this idea of like that there was an old friendship between Peter Pan and Hook, and it tried to action up the crocodile. It's been a while since I watched it. I can't remember much detail. Can just remember I didn't enjoy it a lot. I don't think many people did. So that's an easy skip. Then there was Invitation to a Murder. I remember enjoying that one. Very basic, solid mystery, murder mystery, crime solved investigation movie. And I enjoyed it. So very easy to recommend that one. Then I watched a Korean, or I don't know what order I watched this. Maybe I watched this in these order. Space Sweepers it's a Korean movie, if I remember correct, about junket in space. At some point there was a guy speaking Danish, which was really fun for me because I'm Danish. I remember the video. The movie looked nice, if I remember, like the effects, and it's an effect-heavy movie. It looked very convincing, if I remember correctly. It's easy to recommend. I remember it being maybe a bit long. Other than that, but I remember being engaged with the movie. So Space Sweeper, easy to recommend. The Burning Sea was also pretty engaging. About a disaster at an oil rig in Norway, I think. It had some interesting, the way the story involves, the way the story is told, the disaster unfolds. People are reacting, shouting into telephones, looking at screens. Wasn't too bad. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was it's dark. It's kind of like a bummer. Honestly, from the first, that was like all fun and not so serious and not so heavy. Then the second one was great. Both were great with the daddy issues, and the third one here, I didn't like it. I'm kind of happy Guardians are over if this is where we're going. It's just so dark and mean, and there was a lot of things that I felt went nowhere. I had little impact, like the villain and how it's ending. So yeah, maybe it's for the better. If you want the closure, there is nice closure in Guardians of the Galaxy. I think the biggest question I of course had was about Gamora from Endgame, and I kind of respect the movie for making the choice that it did. But yeah, this is the end, and that's okay. I didn't particularly think it was great. Asteroid City, on the other hand, that was great. Of course, being the most Wes Anderson movie can be, but I enjoyed it. I was having a wonderful afternoon with Asteroid City, which is what I think, like nice, relaxed, calm, laid back, colorful, fantasy, full story told in funny ways with some weird props at sometimes. Of course, it's the dialogue, the setup. Yeah, I had a wonderful afternoon with Asteroid City, and I think you can too. Transformers Rise of the Beast. Okay, I think it's been a while since I watched that one as well. Unfortunately, they're not that great, and as it could be. Transformers to me is mostly wasted potential. Unfortunately, first one might probably be the best, or maybe let's say Bumblebee is the best because of the style. This one was very forgettable. There's a human characters, but the Transformer can talk, and big world-ending boss, and I can't really remember much anything about it, and that's probably just the statement of it. Like, yeah, there's a guy that gets a suit, and I mean, of course, they look great, like big robots, big beasts. It was the same with like the dinosaurs thing, but I feel like we're just going in circles with these. Could have been. Oh yeah, actually, it had the ending that I don't want to spoil, but the ending might say that there's a few good movies coming out of this. Yeah, an interesting crossover yet, a teaser. Yeah, so actually maybe the ending and the promise for the next Transformers is more exciting than this one. And if there's a next Indiana Jones movie, I don't know. Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. It's long. It's not slow. It's bloated. If you want an example of why a chase scene shouldn't take 20 minutes, there's plenty of examples of that in Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. It gets ridiculous, and you get tired of it because of the pacing and in general it wasn't a good movie. It was weird with the concepts and people's reaction, people's motivation. There was one thing that was trying not to spoil. There was one thing that I was really like, whoa, this is something, where they find a tomb and there's like a modern piece of equipment in the tomb, and they're like, wow, this could mean something, this could be good, and it meant nothing. I think there's been some reshoots or some changing to the ending or story. This wasn't particularly great. Extraction 2, and I must admit I haven't watched the first one, but if you were to ask me to watch the first one, I probably wouldn't mind it. Because Extraction 2 is a solid, otherwise run-of-the-mill action movie with Chris, I'm no longer Thor, Hemsworth. I don't know if he's not Thor anymore, but he started a lot of things besides being Thor. And this one was definitely one of the things, but it was good. Is what I'm trying to say. Like good fun action movie. Um, it's a solid popcorn earner. There's some shooting things are set up. He's like a hostage saver or something that extracts people, and there's a deeper story and some twists and turns. But hey, I remember being entertained by it. The climbers, I remember mostly having difficulty understanding like the situation and the difficulty, besides the obvious of a group of mountain climbers that have to climb. It's not Mount Everest, but I think it's been a while. They have to climb for China. There's some natural interest, and it takes place some time ago. They were to measure the height. It's an action movie. I think it was made by the same guy that did an action movie about like firefighters as well. There was just a lot of weird things in the way they did things and that I didn't understand, but I was with the characters. I remember like being they are in danger. This is difficult. I remember that, but it was okay. It wasn't great as I remembered. Movie Paradise was kind of great. Had some twists and turns. It's about technology, and there's some great makeup because there's a person becoming older. There's a bit of it like at the center of the things, this sci-fi philosophical philosophical question of selling years or eternal youth. And I remember being pretty engaged with this movie, so I can recommend that. Pirate: The Last Royal Treasure is certainly a title. I think it was Chinese as well, so maybe it makes more sense than when it's not translated. But the movie was kind of fun. There's a lot of, I think, Pirates Caribbean inspiration taken in the tone. Like it's not serious. It's not about scurvy. It's about fantasy pirates, but wooden legs and parrots and being all Johnny Depp like, or Captain Jack Sparrow like. But I remember having fun. I remember recommending it to someone who likes pirates and saying, "Hey, if you miss it, this goes to same places. This is kind of fun." Heart of Stone. See if I remember. I mean, I can tell the title. It's her name. It's with Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot. Her character's name has a last name Stone, and this is about the heart of her. And it's quite a heavy action movie with elaborate actions because they have like supercomputers that can help them with calculations on the fly, like probabilities and all that. So it's kind of like a little bit Matrix hacking or what you want to say. But it's an excuse to make some very cool action segments. Bit of a thriller thingy with some agents double crossing who's on whose side that it actually managed to pull off pretty well. If I remember, there was one scene, or there was one. The story takes a turn where I was like, okay, they went there, and that's always nice. So, yeah, for a solid action movie, Heart of Stone. The Covenant, or Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, I think it's also called, it's a great story. It's very worth telling, worth hearing. But it gives this weird feeling of being two different stories, or two different movies, two different moods that are stitched together. Because it's very action heavy in the first part, just because it's about soldiers in Afghanistan, I think. So of course there's soldier activities, what you expect, and then there's kind of like an aftermath to that. That's the other half of the story. It's kind of like where the real meat is, like where the tension is. And that's a little bit of a jarring, going from one type to the other. But I think it's an important movie, and it was also okay to watch. I think it's an important story. It raises some questions about the consequence, the cost, the human cost of going into war. The Meg 2 is really weird, but they don't use the word Megalodon. Like, that doesn't sound cool at all. The Meg 1 was fine. I enjoyed it. It played the big shark as being scary, where the Meg 2, that's silly. I'm sure it could be scary, but you kind of know what you're going in for. Like, with bigger attacks, bigger jump scares, big the shark attacks a beach resort, and then fun things happen. This is not a smart movie. This is not a high art. It's not great acting. It's straight Jason Statham. You know what you're in for. But it's a good time. Like, just even if you have deep underwater sharks, shallow. It's a shallow movie. That was the joke I was trying to make. That was a fun time. So yeah, I don't regret having watched the Meg 2, and I don't think you will either. The Last Voyage of the Demeter had a great premise, and it does a lot of great things with it. About a vampire monster thing on a boat in the olden days. I remember being like unnerving, or what you want to call it, like not at ease. So the movie was effective at that. But there's a bit far between the good scenes, or what you want to say. There's a lot of. I can see why it didn't have a lot of success or get a lot of great reviews. I can see that, but it had some good ideas, and it had some good scenes, and there were some scenes where I was like scared or nervous. So, ooh, what's gonna happen? So if you're looking in for some like slowly creepy horror, yeah, you can do. I can recommend The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I can also recommend Barbie. I have no idea why people are super excited about this movie. I think it's just okay. There's some things that I don't understand why they're doing it the way they're doing. But I'm happy to have watched it, and if you're at all curious, yeah, go watch Barbie. It's especially the beginning is usually the best, and it's the same like with all the jokes, the upbeat, the pacing, introducing the world, having fun with it before things start getting serious, or in this case, all things get weird and can't be explained. Don't look for the Barbie movie for like reason to be like, oh, this is a parallel universe or something. It's just Barbie goes to our world. But by no means did I hate it. No, I enjoyed watching it. I just thought it was maybe a little too silly and too long. But I think most movies are too long. Oppenheimer, definitely long, and probably too long also. Like, it's a solid 3 hours, so I'm glad to watch it on my couch. Kind of like The Covenant. Oppenheimer is also like two different movies, or very two different stories being told, like the things building up to the explosion of the bomb and the aftermath of the bomb. They're very different and very long. And I can see why you would think that it's important to tell, but I think it's too long. I can recommend it, definitely. It's of course it's a solid craftsmanship, and it's good storytelling and great acting or character acting, if you want to be specific. I'm just not, super excited about it. But I was more excited about Oppenheimer, or I am more excited than Blue Beetle. Oh, Blue Beetle is not good. It's have people made enough of those "we have Iron Man at home" kind of jokes about Blue Beetle? Blue Beetle is not a good movie. It's like, I think Blue Beetle is what people that don't like superhero movies sees all superhero movies to be. It's formulaic, by the book, shallow, running on stereotypes, not interested. You can see everything happening a mile away. No. This is like the last fight of the DC, EU, whatever. Apparently we can have this, but not Batgirl or Scooby-Doo. I don't know. Yeah. Have I put the Flash here? I've talked about the Flash. I might as well do it. Maybe I forgot to mention it. I watched the Flash as well. That's the same. There's some nostalgic, okay scenes for a Batman fan like myself, but the Flash is no, thank you. That was a silly movie. I did enjoy it. I don't know if you've been following up on what Ezra Miller has been doing and you don't agree with it, then of course it's difficult to watch a movie where he's so much on screen. But even if that wasn't the case, don't like his performance, don't like the Flash. There's a very creative, visually amazing way of portraying time travel in this movie, I think. But yeah, I cannot recommend the Flash. Til Death Do Us Part. I saw some trailer for it and was kind of saying, hey, this could be good, even though it felt like a story I've seen a few times now. About I don't know what the genre is, or sub-genre, but something with a bride or a woman being chased. That could be good. This really wasn't that good. There was some fun scenes because there's they have some fun with some of the men that she kicks and beats up, and one of them is like a small dude. I don't know what you wanna. Can I use the term dwarf or midget? Little people, whatever. But it makes for visually funny when he starts attacking her, and he's also a goof. The movie is fully on board with this. So it had moments of fun, but nah, that's a bit of a time wasted. Mission Impossible: Death Reckoning Part 1 didn't have to be a Part 1 if they didn't overextend the action scenes, and it doesn't work. Overextending an action scene doesn't make it more interesting. You just get tired of it. It's the same with Indiana Jones. And it's kind of annoying because the Mission Impossible movies in general are solid craftsmanship, solid storytelling, even though it seems a bit formulaic. And this one had some stupid technology things where they're like, oh, this is totally happening. It can't, but that's okay. We need a big bad villain. But there was so long action scenes, and some of them were just rip off of other action movie or games. Like, it wasn't that creative. Like, yeah. So that was a way too long movie. The Wrath of Becky, I had no idea what we were going into. It's previously I talked about, a woman being hunted. This one's a woman, young woman, on the hunt. Becky is maybe I should start here. The Wrath of Becky is a sequel to a movie I haven't watched, so I learned that the hard way. Becky is a very capable killer. I think that's just a word for it. So it's kind of like Home Alone, but lethal. Let's go with that. I enjoyed it. I can definitely recommend it. Hey, are you still with me? That's nice. That was the movie that I watched since last time we spoke. I consider myself a gamer, even though there was way more movies than video games. But I guess that's also just the nature of video games take longer. So I played some video games that I would like to talk about. One of the video games that I played is called Deliver Us the Moon. And if you're crude, you could say that this is a walking simulator. There's not really combat. There's really not death. There's puzzle solving, there's storytelling, there's environmental storytelling. And I enjoyed it. It's a relative short experience. I think like you can do it in one evening. Definitely a weekend. But man, if you're not an action junkie and you like story-driven games like I do, Deliver Us the Moon, that was a solid experience. I would recommend it. Far Lone Sales was a great video game, minimalistic in storytelling. To put it bluntly, all you do is travel from left to right in a vehicle that you have to manage different aspects of. And it was great. If you had like games like Limbo, Inside, Machinarium, other games that I played, relative simple. I mean, I would hesitate to call it a platformer because you don't jump that much. But man, the mood was there, the atmosphere. Far Lone Sales, definitely also recommended for the more, what's the word I'm looking for? Introspected, artistic. Nah, that's a bit much. It was a very nice game. New Tales from the Borderlands, not being made by Telltale, and a very loose sequel to Tales from the Borderlands. If I could just quickly mention, and I can't, this is my video, my channel, but I appreciate you being here very much. Tales from the Borderlands, with the Telltale one, it's amazing, but I liked most of the Telltale games that I played. But that was a really good way for me to experience the Borderland environment, and then I wanted to play the other Borderland games, but they were shooters, and I'm not really good at that, and they weren't as colorful, and I was shooting like, are they called skags or something? Like for a long time it was boring. Doesn't matter. New Tales from the Borderlands. So it's not made by the same team, but it's still the episodic, story-driven game, and I'm all for it, and it's very easy to recommend. It's a personal story. There's like 3 main characters. So it's a lot more about them than Borderlands or Vault Hunting or what you would expect to find. Still had great humor, great story. I enjoyed it. Some of the mechanics. Again, if you're crude, you can call it a walking simulator, but I think it was a good time. Like if you can play video games while having snacks and you're just enjoying the story being told. So yeah, New Tales from the Borderlands, very easy to recommend. Mr. Prepper was a game where I thought I was getting one thing, like the movie, there's a game called Basement, based or very loosely or legally distinct, I think, from Breaking Bad. It's kind of about So Basement is a real-time strategy game, and I thought Mr. Prepper was the same. They seemed similar in that you build bunker or rooms underneath your house and you try to not get discovered. But Mr. Prepper was not that much real-time strategy, not a lot of base building, as it was more like, can I say Stardew, something like that, Graveyard Keeper. I ended up enjoying having played Mr. Prepper, but I would recommend playing it on easy because the small resource management that there is was tedious. Like, it was very slow for what story, like the story is being drip fed, and I thought it was too far between. So I think if you want to play Mr. Prepper, I recommend you doing it on easy, so the resource management is easier. Like, it's that feeling of, the game is played in segments of each day, and then you start the day doing some of the basic chores, minding, taking care of the things you need, and then your hunger and food meter is already so low that you have to eat and sleep. And then once you're then ready, most of the day has already gone. That's a lot of the feeling I got from Mr. Prepper in the beginning. So if that had been better paced, I would have enjoyed it even more. Twin Mirror. Don't Not. Yeah, that didn't make any sense. The studio Don't Not made the game Twin Mirror. And like Telltale's Don't Not have a certain type of games stories that they make. They made what they called Life is Strange, and the other one, that's not called Life is Strange 2, is it? I think, yeah, maybe it is, with the two brothers. But I liked it. I mean, I like Don't Not games in general, and I liked Twin Mirror. It's separated from that universe with the Life is Strange things, but I enjoyed it. There was some supernatural thing that wasn't really explained, didn't do too well, but I enjoyed the story, how to progress, and the choices I could do. So I definitely recommend that. Behind the Frame was a great little game with a very personal story, but the most fun is that I realized I could play it with my tablet, with my drawing tablet. It's called a stylus, Wacom, whatever. Because it's about painting, and yeah, I could totally play it with my tablet, and that made sense. It was fun to draw the things. It's kind of like an environment puzzle, and or kind of Rubik's Cube, or like an escape room. You solve some things that unlocks different other things, and in the middle of it, or tying it all together, is a very personal little story. So if you can do without shooting or big action, I can recommend Behind the Frame, no problem. I'm a bit too minds if I can recommend Erica, which is one of those games that there's a lot of like video, like full motion video, and then you make some choices. The problem with Erica was that I think the things you have to do, because sometimes you have to move things, or you have to do things with the mouse to progress the story, like opening a door. And I thought those things were too broken, like they were very too precise, or I could kind of like do things too fast or something. It didn't feel good to play where I was kind of like, oh, well then just give me like a button, like press X to open the door instead of having to hold mouse key and then move it in a big arc from left to right. Then I'll just prefer that instead. But the bigger problem with Erica is that one playthrough is not enough. It has quite a bit of multiple endings, and I did see all of them because there's really no chapter function or skip function or fast forward function, So I played it like 3 times just to get answers to different questions that I didn't get answers to on my first playthrough, and I got a overall picture of the story, and I was like, okay, fine. I didn't even read the endings on like Wikipedia or something, because I was just done with it. So yeah, it ended up being slow and tedious because you have to play it multiple times, but there's only so many options you can take in the beginning. So sometimes you just want to skip forward, or choose chapter and saying, okay, I just want another decision from here, but you have to watch all the movies or the videos play out before you then get to make a new choice or see something else. And the last game I want to talk about is called Spiritfarer. That was also way too long, way too tedious, and I ended up having it run in the background, just waiting for resources to spawn. I ended up looking up where things were, because the game was taking too long for what I felt. And I mentioned this before, so I say this, that I fall off games where all I do is reading. It's not that I can't read, it's just I'm not playing video games to read. It's a rough way of saying it. Like it really connects with me. Like I'm more visually minded or orientated. Like I've been looking at a game called Disco Elysium for a long time. It gets a lot of great reviews, but from what I can see, it's all reading, and I just stopped focusing, paying attention with reading. So I also did that with Spiritfarer. So a lot of the nuance with these personal stories that are the heart and center of Spiritfarer, I just skipped over because it was taking too long. Also, some of the mechanics were just too tedious. Kind of like with Mr. Prepper, there's some resource management where I'm like, just get this over with. Like, give me the resources. So I ended up not enjoying Spiritfarer or getting the emotional connection with its story and its characters, because I was just trying to get through the tedious part, and then the game ended. So I definitely am partly to blame for my own bad experience, but be warned, this is what's going into Spiritfarer. So that was the video games. I would like to talk about some animated movies that I watched now. So I watched a few animated movies as well. I am drawn to anything animated. You probably could guess. I watched the Injustice movie, which was great. I think Warner Brothers in general do great animated movies. It's kind of like based on the games, Injustice, but that's a fighting game, so not much of story. It's the main thing you can get from it is that Superman kind of snaps and becomes mean or controlled, and then everyone reacts to that. And it's a nice animated movie. I watched Batman: The Long Halloween, which is 2 movies. Pretty sure like part 1 and 2, based on the comic book as well. Again, perfectly fine, good Batman story. Some guessing. I'm a fan of almost anything Batman. Nimona was a great animated movie on Netflix. That was a great experience with a really amazing style of exaggerated, cartoony expressions. I appreciate everything Chloe, this main actress, that she does, even though I think it's actually clear here that voice acting is different than movie acting, but it was still very much enjoyable. I I like the story. I understand this is based on a comic book or a web comic, but that doesn't matter. We can judge this movie on its own, and it was quite nice. Story was well put together. There were some things where I was like, okay, it actually commits to this. So that's a easy recommendation. Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. Think most people just saw the trailers about the Little Mermaid. Let's spoof. Is that the word I'm looking for? This is a Ruby Gillman. Teenage Kraken is a very standard affair 3D animation. It looks nice. It's nicely animated. You know exactly what's gonna happen from after the first 7 minutes you've seen it. It's a family movie through and through. Yeah, there's nothing inherently bad about it, but this is a movie that they're like a dime a dozen at this point. Justice League Warworld, I remember thinking that the end kind of promised more to come, that I was more excited about than this actual movie. Wasn't particularly great actually. You get to see different takes of some characters. That's what they can do with these movies, and I appreciate that. But I don't really got the idea. I don't think the main story was particularly great for Justice League Warworld. Suzume, that was fine. It was animated movie. It looked great. It was animated very well. But it wasn't. I wasn't totally on board with it. Suzume has some visual splendor. Like there's some really great imagery to the movie. But as I feel with like a lot of especially like animated movies or anime movie Japanese that has a core element of something supernatural, I feel like it just like it gets loose, it runs away, it escalates too quick, it becomes too big. If you ever seen the joke that in every Japanese role-playing game you start by killing rats in the sewer, and after like 20 hours you're killing a god. And there's a bit of the same here with like not a lot is explained, I felt like, and yeah, I can recommend it. Bottom line, it's still great. There's some good scenes. There's some fun, unexpected characters, great animation, but the end kind of bloats, slow down. Yeah, but a recommendation nonetheless. As is with Resident Evil Death Island, I thought that was better than it had any means to be. Kind of cementing that everything Resident Evil currently is well taken care of and has a high quality of standard of quality. I don't know how to word. It's a 3D animated movie in the Resident Evil universe, and it's made for fans, so they're not gonna explain anything. But it was, I enjoyed it. It's not terribly scary, mainly because it's not a game, so the characters makes all the decision for you. Yeah, that was an okay time. Batman Year One is of course based on the comic Batman Year One. It seems like every of these Batman comics of notoriety gets turned into a movie. for better or for worse, I, I read the comic recently and I didn't really enjoy it, and I sort of don't really remember much from the Batman Year One animated movie. It's not one of the better Batman story. Of course, it's Batman. I'm a fan, but it's nothing really special. Like I had other movies that does more interesting things with the character. So yeah, I'd recommend it to any Batman fan. Still quality, just nothing special. The opposite of nothing special is, of course, something very special, and that's across the Spider-Verse. Um, of course, I liked it. There's just some things that I didn't like. I don't like this as a cliffhanger because it's a weird cliffhanger. So there's going to be another movie. Uh, but of course, it looks great, but with the caveat that sometimes the start is just way too busy. I felt like I felt some characters or scenes in the first movie were too busy for my eyes, kind of like a strain or hurt to watch. And there are still things about this here in Across the Spider-Verse, but the characters and the animation, like the acting, the visual, it's very great, very stunning. I just not sure that I'm a big fan of all this multiverse thing. Not in the way that they did it here, maybe. Like there's a main villain that's in the background and doesn't even get into it. So I wasn't really blown away like I was at the first movie. But of course you can't do that. What I appreciate is that there's more Spider-Gwen, because I was the first movie made me a Spider-Gwen fan. So there's more Spider-Gwen in this one, and that's a good thing. And there was some very solid acting put into it. I try not to spoil it, but I would probably have liked a different story. It's a bit formulaic, and yeah, the ending really drags for me. I don't know why they made those decisions, but of course I'm there for the third movie, supposedly the conclusion, the final, whenever that's ready. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is quite a title. No, I wasn't too impressed or hooked by this movie. It had a weird character design I felt like weirder for some characters than other. Like Master Splinter was taken in many different directions. Of course, we saw the April, even though she's not really. They could have just kept her out. She doesn't really. This is about mutants, so there's a lot of second and third ranked, or what do you call it, characters from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe that are here. So that's something I'm not that well versed in that world. So a lot of these characters were new to me. But the core of the movie, the fatherhood and the sons, was the best part. I think that was the solid part, and what kept it going for me, or what kept me invested. But it wasn't particularly great. I don't regret having watched it, but it's hard for me to recommend it. And the same can be said for Elemental. That was a simple, basic movie, and I'm thinking I'm not the main target for Pixar movies anymore, because they of course keep a younger audience. The whole Elemental thing with fire living near water, I didn't get it. like if some of this metaphor are meant to be taken literally, I got lost in the metaphor, I think is the term. Some weird decisions, a lot of things that I react to, like people not communicating, not talking clearly and saying, hey, let's take 5 minutes, this is the issue, this is how I feel. I always like get pulled out when of the experience when a movie does that or don't, and I always appreciate it when a movie can find a way to be, I want to say like mature about this, or go at it as what I would feel it'd be a natural way, and then still have the plot happening. Yeah. No, I don't think I can recommend Elemental. I thought it was weird. Yeah, with all the elements. I read 3 comic books since last time. Kingdom Come, maybe it's quite famous. It's a bit of a weird tale, and it's drawn in a very different style than what you might think a superhero comic book could look like. It's kind of like a mature adult thingy. Maybe I would just prefer something more simple or more generic superhero standard thingy. I read a very old comic, or not sure if it's very old, but it's one of my earliest one, I remember, called Do Avengers Sentinel. Like I've had a lot of my comics in boxes, so I've been rereading or rediscovering a lot of it. I kind of like it. It's very classic superhero, what I like. So I gotta go track the other comic down, I guess. In another older comic, but I was aware of, is called Batman Year One. It's a bit of an origin story about how Batman becomes Batman. It's Frank Miller. It has some animated movies based on it. I don't like it. I thought it was a bad story, not a good Batman story. Jim Gordon, the police inspector, he's like cheating on his wife, and you know, I didn't see the point of it. I didn't like it. I watched some series, and I've separated this in like live action series and animation series. So we're gonna start with the live action series. Tales from the Loop is an amazing series. I think it's on Amazon Prime. It like episode 1 ended with such a like, or was 2 like ended with such an eerie feeling. I knew I was gonna watch all of it. It's a rabbit hole that just keeps getting bigger. They are separate stories. Each episode they set in the same universe, the same little town. It's a slow burner of a series. There's not a lot of action. There's a lot of atmosphere. Yeah, wow, holy moly, the atmosphere. Highly recommended. I was deeply engaged with Tales of the Loop. The Expanse, kind of an old show. This is the second time that I tried watching The Expanse, and I finished it. I didn't particularly start this because of the Telltale game, but I kind of forgot that there was a Telltale Expand game that I think is already out, or at least first season. I play games on a 5 to 8 year delay, so I don't really keep up. This is the second time I tried watching The Expanse, and I finished it, and I'm glad I did. It takes a while. It took a while at least to get me hooked, but it is a very good science fiction show. Science fiction is the setting, not as much the theme. I think one of the reasons why it took me like the entire first season to get into it is just like, what is this show going to be about? What's going to happen here? Some of the things that I appreciate in show, like character motivation and setup and build up, and it's all there. It's really well done. The Expanse is very much recommended. even has action bits. It's funny with these sort of shows that I could see, the effects, the budget increasing. I could see the effects getting bigger as I progress through the seasons. But it doesn't look bad at all the first season. Highly recommend the Expand. I watched Ahsoka. I think I'll just always keep up with Star Wars, but there's no need to. Let me say that it feels like a waste with Ahsoka. Like it did nothing. There's been some talks, and I think that's what I want to chime in on. There's an animated show called Star Wars Rebels, that had some great characters. In general, it's highly praised. I think I watched the first 1 or 2 seasons of that. I didn't finish. But a lot of these characters get reintroduced as live action in Ahsoka. I will say that you don't have to have watched Rebels because of the way that they introduce them. Like you will know, okay, these characters has a connection. There's a character missing, or someone is missing someone. Or this has a past and it's complicated. I think that was easy to pick up on, and that's what you need to know to watch Ahsoka. Like I just talked about Tales of the Loop in the Expanse being slow, Ahsoka was also slow, so maybe season 2 will pay off on it, but I doubt it. It was just like nothing. It took a lot of time on not really any particularly great story, getting anything. I have a video called Embracing Modern Storytelling, where I talk about some of the cool things or the opportunities that I think you should, as a storyteller, you should take advantage of in these modern days. And part of that is, and especially Star Wars, they love doing it, and with Marvel as well, like tell you pretty much the whole story, like before they even made the movie. They're like, oh, we're gonna have this actor and actress play these characters, and we're basing it on this comic or this book or this comic book, or you get it. And we had this with Admiral Thrawn. You might not know him. He was in the books. And so they were building this, oh, we're going to get Thrawn, you're going to see Thrawn. People who had read the books, they were quite good. I remember reading them when they came out. I'm that old. And they were like, people, some of the fans of the, what is called Legacy Universe. Oh, shit, food, sorry. Okay, I'm back. The pizza can cool off a bit, so I don't get hot melted cheese. Anyways, so they were hyping up Thrawn. Like it's a Danish actor that plays Thrawn. They can't be really mad. And I don't want to spoil it, but it's a part of there's nothing there. Like they just goes around in circle, setting up stuff for many seasons. It would seem like they really slow, but kind of like building up to a world as big as, like, say, Game of Thrones or something as expansive as that. And I wasn't feeling any of it. I wasn't engaged. I was just like, why don't you have a story? You have backstory. Just do something. Like, yeah. Not a fan of Ahsoka. Of course, I'm gonna keep tabs on Star Wars, but good thing that, I can watch this for free on my sister's Disney Plus account. Speaking of Disney Plus content in the very content-y version of the word, Loki season 2. Have you watched season 1? This is not Loki. It wasn't. I don't know why they did this. I'm not at all familiar with any of the, let's say, source material of the comics or the time variation agency, all that, but it's just part of the whole problem that they've introduced these variants as they did in season 1. The world is constantly at stake. Like, you get fatigue, world at stake fatigue. It's like, no, you're not going to destroy the world, because again, you are Disney, you are Marvel, you have already talked about the next 5 things that you are producing, and then the next 5 things that you want to produce. No, yeah, didn't care much for Loki season 2. There's no reason to watch that. There will be some animated series that there's plenty of reason to watch. One of them that I watch is The Legend of Vox Machina, which is, if my Latin doesn't fail me, is the legend of the voice of the machine. And I have no idea why. There was no machine with no voice. Though I watched two episodes, I think is what's available. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. It's Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know. It's certainly fantasy. It's an adult show. It has some humor, some imagery, some language uses for adult. But it was great. It was one of those series, where I find it and then I'm like, okay, so for the next 3 evenings I'm gonna stock up on some snacks. I'm not gonna do other evening projects, kind of like this one, unfortunately. I'm just gonna binge to a certain extent the whole thing. I enjoyed it. It's very easy to recommend. Scavengers Reign is another animated series that it's not recommendable. I did not enjoy it. It was a downright miserable watching experience with a great premise and possibly a great style. I'm pretty sure it's from a comic book or graphic novel, if you will, because it looked good on stills, not moving. Animated, it did not look great. It's about people stranding on a foreign planet, and they are unfortunately all idiots. Like, if you have that, if it bothers you when main characters do something illogical or stupid or stuff like that, if that takes you out of the story, there's plenty of that to go around in Scavengers Reign. Like, you're on a completely different planet with completely different plant life, animal life. You have no idea what kind of germs are going on, yet people are constantly touching things and jumping into things and running into things, running headlong into things, and not being like, you imagine, like, they are on a space mission. They were like selected to be explorers of the unexplored world or something, I imagine, and then they're just dumb. And that was annoying. Onimusha on Netflix, a series about a samurai, but not the only one. We'll get back to the other one. I thought it was kind of like based on a fighting game or another game or something, but I'm not sure that it is. But it was pretty good. Looked pretty well animated. Did get a little anime near the ending, but I think there was like 8 episodes, and I enjoyed them. There was very great sword fights and style, atmosphere, samurai action. So that's easy to recommend. I took almost like a time travel. I went back. As part of it, as I mentioned, I'm reading some of the comics that I had. I also reading some of the manga. One of them was Soul Eater, and I read like half of the first volume. I was like, I'm missing the action, the movement. So I started watching the anime, and I enjoyed it. I have had it on my bucket list for a while, and I can highly recommend it. Something that's so stylish and lovely, colorful as Soul Eater. Definitely put me down for the anime being better than the manga, the first half volume that I read, because mangas are in black and white. This is it's so nice with this exaggerated style and bright colors, and great fights and great performance. So I watched Soul Eater, and that is very easy to recommend. Is it a evergreen? Is it a oldie goldie? I don't know. I finally watched it. I'm very happy I did. Blue Eye Samurai is another samurai series on Netflix, and it is amazing. It is highly recommended by me. Oh boy, this is good. This is top quality, everything. It has some amazing cinematography, an amazing style, great animation, some really gorgeous scenery shot, and quite a good story. Again, I watched the first episode and was like, I need snacks for this. I'm gonna go away on a blue-eye samurai journey. It's really good. It did this weird thing. Like there's plenty of seasons coming of this. It even had this weird thing where in this season of Blue Samurai, at the end of episode 1, I didn't really need that because I've already decided I'm gonna watch all of it. Like it's on Netflix, it's there. That's one of the benefits you get with that model. When you release all the episodes, you don't need to rehook me every week. And so then it didn't spoil anything, but of course it don't want to see anything when I already decided that I'm gonna watch it. So Blue-Eyed Samurai, definitely recommended. Last thing on my list here of everything before I'll say we are all caught up, was I watched the Chris Rock Selective Outrage special. Even though it's the kicker, I don't think it's very special. I didn't laugh a lot. I laughed some. I think Chris Rock laughed more than I did. It's funny he's laughing at his own joke. I just not like I found it offensive, but I also didn't find it like edgy or something. And it's fine. I think he's going for wide broad appeal. He's more telling stories than cracking a lot of jokes. It just wasn't that funny. But it's not like an hour. You can put it on in the background. That's what I did. Then you laugh a little. Cool. Thank you. That was the list. Thank you for sticking with me. Now I'm up to date, even though I already watched 2 movies, but they're gonna be in another video. As I said, I'm gonna try and make these on like the weekend where I catch up on a weekly basis. So next video will be about Trolls Band Together and Blair. One of these was a really good time. So yeah, this is the plan going forward. I hope I can stick to it. There's been a lot going on in my life, mostly great things, with jobs and all that. That's just how it's gonna be. So, hey, if you like this, if you don't, if you want me to do anything different, let me know in the comment. I appreciate you sticking around. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for stopping by today. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video.